Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Centre. This is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Dara O'Connor.
Yo, what's going on? It's Leon Slater, and you are listening to Dara O'Connor on the Wrestling Rewind. Yeah, man.
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hello everybody, it is Tuesday here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. My name is Dara O'Connor and you're listening to the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling. But we might sound different because we're in a completely different studio. We're also in a completely different country. We are in London, England, in the podcast rooms recording today. I'm not alone. I'm joined by the one, the only Mr. 1-0, Martin Herty. How are things, Martin?
Oh, we come to you once again from parts unknown. Our heads are hopping, our throats are hoarse, but I think overall we're pretty happy after a fairly brilliant Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Absolutely. Forbidden Door, it's a show that, even though I wouldn't consider myself an AEW fan, it's a show that, I enjoy every year purely for the novelty of having this crossover between New Japan and AEW. And this year it was very, very different. It was not only a crossover with New Japan, but you had a whole host of stuff everywhere from like Rev Pro to CMLL.
So Stardom.
The whole world was really represented. Pretty cool last night, with the exception of one place in particular. We'll get to that a little bit later on, but obviously, shout out to AEW. They looked after us really, really well. Obviously, we were covering it as press, so we were set beside a lot of our peers in the wrestling media. Simon Miller was sitting in front of us.
But Dara says peers, I would say subordinates, but...
and we even had the lads from OSW Review as well from behind us, which was pretty surreal to be in that media pool. So thank you, AEW, for sorting us out there.
We were briefly worried that they were going to take us up on our legally distinct bully list.
That's okay. See, it's legally distinct, so we're good.
It's ironclad.
We're good.
That's why he never mentioned it. He knew it's watertight.
He knew. He's like, no, I can't go after these guys. we are going to skip a lot of the pre-show because it was a long show as it was. Yeah. It's about 6 hours, it seems like, on the actual broadcast, from what I was seeing. Online, that a lot of the pre-show wasn't there. Obviously 0 Hour as well. I have to say though, before we actually get into the main card, I actually enjoyed a lot of 0 Hour. It was much more New Japan-y than the actual show, because the actual show this year seemed to be more AEW with bits of New Japan.
Yeah, so overall, I think it's strange that this was a Forbidden Door pay-per-view because it was a really strong AEW pay-per-view, but the actual Forbidden Door parts of it were kind of few and far between in places. You're quite right, I think, about the pre-show. It was great fun, loads of really cool multi-man tags, great seeing guys like Speedball live, great seeing the likes of Tekla, Statlander, Queen Aminata live. Obviously, it's always great to see the likes of Hobbs and Samoa Joe live, but ultimately, it was a pre-show. It was a load of fun. It got the crowd going, but there's not a whole pile in it to analyse.
But to have Bullet Club War Dogs is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I say that because I was two things I wanted from this show merch-wise. I wanted a New Japan hat and I wanted a new Bullet Club shirt. Both of which I got.
He sat here replete in his splendor in both of them.
It's funny though, because they had very few sizes left, so I had to go up a size for the shirt. But I'm like, you know what? That's okay. It was the New Japan merch fits pretty good anyway, so I didn't really mind too much. But the selection of merch was pretty good. I have heard that in AEW shows sometimes it can be hit and miss. So fair play to the O2 for the way they were set out. And the arena itself, we were talking last week on our prediction shows, but also on our review of Collision and Dynamite, that the arena didn't look big time, didn't really feel fantastic. Man. This was night and day.
Yeah,
crowd was huge, 17,000, I believe. 19,000. Yeah, it was
record.
A record. So not only was it wasn't a sellout, but nearly was a sellout. We have to be, like, there were 4 seats beside me, so it'd be a lie to call it a sellout.
No, so just bear in mind that the 4 seats beside us were in the media pit.
That's true.
So they wouldn't have been for sale anyway. They would have been set aside for...
That's a very good point.
For royalty like us.
That's a very good point. But no, it did set the record for the largest wrestling attendance
in the O2.
in the O2, in that arena.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So it was great to see that.
And he's done it with Wembley. And if we had got asking our question, I think we could have inceptioned the idea of Croke Park into his.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
head.
thing. So, we were at the media scrum afterwards, and obviously I posted a clip of it there on our social media and on our YouTube last night. And the question I wanted to ask Tony was, that when are you coming to Ireland? Because they mentioned everywhere else. So they also mentioned they're going back to the UK in December and November, Manchester and Cardiff.
Big shows coming up in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at whenever they do come over this side of the water, like, they're massively popular in Europe. Like, I could see that, look, maybe there's production costs and different logistical problems, but I could see them very easily doing like a fairly extensive European tour.
I've said this, I even said this with TNA, and I don't want this to become a
Yes, you do. You want Everton to become a TNA podcast.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I was drunk. Like, I was drunkenly talking to one of the young fellas beside me when I was getting food yesterday, and I believe I did talk to him about, man, you need to check out TNA. Here's all the matches you should watch. Blah blah blah. Because he's like, I love Samoa Joe. I'm like, do you? Here we go. So yeah, you are right there. But I used to say a lot about when TNA were struggling. In the US, it'd be the same thing. They'd come over to the UK, they'd come over to Ireland, and they'd have sellout shows,
huge crowds,
and rabid crowds. Because again, like, with the exception of OTT in Ireland, and even in the UK, there's a lot more independent wrestling, but you don't get the big shows. You don't get your WWE that often. You don't get your AEW that often. It's still an event, and if you did split your time a little bit more, you can benefit from that. Like, even the cities. Like, there's so many different cities in the UK. And then also in Ireland, we have, Belfast and Dublin. They can well do shows. Like, as again, like, we're sitting here now on the Monday, and then last Friday, WWE was in Dublin.
Exactly.
And had a fantastic crowd.
Yeah.
And I do think, like, American wrestling companies...
And the other thing
need
is
to
that...
be aware of this. And it seems like Tony Khan is aware of it, but it's still twice a year. It's not...
Yeah.
We're a residency.
Even with the SmackDown being on in Dublin and WWE being in Belfast just a couple of months ago, there was still lots of people, both in Glasgow and in London last night. You're hearing a lot of Irish accents. So there's people who are, like, there's a fan base there in Ireland who are going to all these shows.
That's always been the way. I mean, excuse me. With AEW, they are catching that gap in the market that's still left by WWE. Now, again, I never thought we'd have a SmackDown in Ireland.
No.
So that shows you how different it is. 10 years ago, that was unheard of. They just wouldn't do it, despite the fact that UFC was there. So UFC have actually broken that mold a long time ago. And with AEW now being very much competition over here, maybe not, and that's one thing that I kind of want to move towards. A lot of feedback from this show last night on the American side is very like, well, the American audience doesn't like this. I don't get this. I don't understand who these New Japan guys are or these local independent guys are. And that is fair feedback from one standpoint. From my standpoint, I think that made the show really cool. It also made the Collision really cool because you're having these dream matches. And look, AEW gets a lot of flack, in lots of ways, rightly so, for just being matches, right? However, this show, that's the gimmick.
I was going to say,
it's
the whole purpose of it. It's the whole purpose of it.
So, I mean, I don't understand that take, Martin. Can you speak to that maybe? Because that, before we get into this card, and look, again, the story wasn't there with some of them, but as matches, it delivered from top to bottom. So go on.
Yeah, like you said, that's the whole purpose of Forbidden Door. Frankly, people talk about, storylines and builds and all that. I think Forbidden Door is should be outside of canon. And once a year, you just drop all that stuff and it's just we're the best in AEW. Give us the best of CMLL. Give us the best of Stardom. Give us the best in New Japan, Rev Pro. Like this whole MLW or Maple Leaf Wrestling, like any of these groups and different promotions that they're working with or that they have friendly kind of relationships with, I say, yeah, once a year, drop all the storylines and just give us the biggest dream matches you can come up with.
And that's where this was kind of different, because you had some storyline matches. Now, don't get me wrong, one in particular, I was thrilled to see. I'm not going to lie. And it's very obvious which one it is.
Started off on a hay.
Yeah, it was a moment. And I was sitting there in a hotel last night and I was thinking, I've never seen Edge and Christian win a match before. Ever. No. Which is weird when you think about it, because, you know, I've been watching them as a team since I was 8 years old. And I've never seen them wrestle together. I've seen them wrestle separately. I've seen them win titles separately. But now, and I was like, whoa, this is actually like a huge moment.
Oh, we were there live last night watching their first tag match in what must be, I don't know, what?
12 years.
12 years?
12 years, yeah. But again, even that being said though, Martin, like, I've never seen them tag. I've never seen them win in person, you know? Because by the time I was going to shows, Christian was in TNA. So either I saw a lot of Christian or a lot of Edge. I never saw Edge and Christian together. And look, I am going to call him Edge. That's what he is. He comes out in his Edge gear, with his Edge music, with his Edge team music.
And his rated R.
And his rated R superstar. And I'm like, you know what? You're Edge. That's it. And I'm not going to say,
honest to God, I think if it hadn't been a rights thing, he would
still
just
be using it.
Edge,
He would still be, like, I would just, you know, because Christian Cage, I think it works better. Because Christian Cage is just, that's him. He's not being Christian. He's being Christian Cage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And what I liked about this match, and it was, there was a swap out, I believe it, because Mother Wayne was injured.
Nick Wayne.
Mother Wayne was there
supposed
last night. Nick Wayne was injured because we saw him at the tapings.
Yeah,
and he was hurt there apparently.
Yeah,
and that's why he wasn't there. So we got a sub in with Kip Sabian.
No. It was supposed to be Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian.
Yeah,
and we got a sub in
of Killswitch.
With Killswitch.
Is that why we got the sub in?
Luchasaurus. Yeah,
okay. Because when I was reading the card. So there has been a couple of changes here on this card from what was promoted to what actually happened. We'll get into it, but this is one. So I saw two different cards. I saw one that you said, and then one that was actually where Luchasaurus or Killswitch was there with Nick Wayne.
Yeah, so Luchasaurus came back at the Collision taping we were at, which is a huge thing because the guy was seriously ill, and it was kind of half expected that he would never wrestle again. And I think that partly accounts for the fact that...
was it diverticulitis?
I can't remember what it was, but I know it was very, very, very serious. But I think that partly accounts for the fact that Adam Copeland got a massive pop. Mm-hmm. Christian, arguably even louder.
It was moreover. You said this to me.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like... Now, remember, I had drank 3 points at this point. So I was well on my way. We'll follow this story. It's called... Dara's Descent, and then Miraculous Revival. Not that we condone it, but I had just covered 2 games for the Belfast Giants. I didn't eat, and I travelled literally all day, and then we just started at it, and I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're drinking, eat before, and don't spend the whole day travelling, because... You know, shout out to the Belfast Giants, 6-1. It was fantastic at the home game. Sorry, had to get that out there.
No, of course.
But no, look, Killswitch was super over. But again, the guy who was most over was Christian Cage.
By far. And I know last week you talked about how you don't like the sing-songy crowd chants.
Hate it.
But I have to say, I thought, hey, Christian, I want to know, will you be my da, was... phenomenal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Bailey's chant.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Bailey's chant. Hey, Bailey. It's literally that.
Oh, is it? All right.
Bailey, yeah.
Well, I hadn't heard it before.
Oh, you never heard it before?
So this is going around the whole audience, and I'm like, did someone start this and it catch on, or did everybody know? And it's just sort of percolated through, and I didn't get the WhatsApp text about it.
I know. It is a Bailey chant. So if you go to WWE shows, you'll hear it very often.
Right.
So Bailey actually was. She went through a bunch of the independents in Ireland there over the weekend.
Yeah, and apparently her and Mercedes Moné were on social media back and forth about how Bailey hadn't won a title and how she was looking at Mercedes' title. And look, could be just crack. You never know what the...
You know what, I will say, right, and there was another snarky comment that was made saying the only Forbidden Door that people care about is the one that will never happen. I don't want to speculate. I think that could be cool. I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility anymore. But again, for one night, maybe you could have that.
Maybe
and you could have
it'd just be a nightmare booking it. Like,
it wouldn't be. I mean, the thing about it is, it's like, if it is like Bailey and Mercedes Moné, that's a pretty good match to have.
Yeah, it's a great match. But,
so, I mean, if Tony...
there's lots of great matches like
AJ Styles.
Omega reigns, but who goes over?
That's true. Yeah. But like, I was so great seeing Kenny Omega as well. I get to that. But I think in the world that we have now with TKO, a lot of stuff that was outside the realm possibility of ever happening could happen now. It just depends. Like, TNA obviously are working with WWE quite heavily.
Yep. They basically bought AAA.
Yeah, they basically bought AAA. It opens up different possibilities.
I think of the last 6 years since AEW came around, I think if the last 6 years have proven anything, it is that nothing is
off the table anymore. Yeah, nothing is off the, which is
lots of things might seem really remote, highly unlikely, but nothing is.
But can still happen.
Impossible.
I mean, here's the thing: if we had been sitting here 6 years ago, CM Punk coming back would have been impossible,
unthinkable.
Yeah. Like Kenny Omega wrestling in the O2 would have been.
A brand new startup company setting the all-time record for attendance at a wrestling show.
Well, just no, with that too. But I mean,
unheard of.
All the New Japan stars wrestling in front of basically a sold-out crowd, a record-setting crowd. Let's say that, a record-setting crowd in London. You wouldn't have believed it.
No, sure. No even a year ago, me and you were talking about the possibility of Shane McMahon. Seemed like he was seriously going to turn up on AEW.
It's crazy. I mean, and that could still happen, but you just don't know. You never say never, you know? But anyway, look, we'll get into this match. So it started off with this tag team match. Edge and Christian against Killswitch and Kip Sabian. Went about 14 minutes, slightly too long. But the thing about it is, I think the length worked because it kind of set the tone for the night. It was a big story match. One of only two story matches, really. And the crowd were into this from bell to bell.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Bell to bell.
Like, if you were reviewing this just as a straight up technical match, yeah, maybe you could have shaved a few minutes off, but man, not one person in that crowd wanted to see 1 minute less of Edge and Christian together.
No. And the ending was pretty cool. I actually managed to catch it. It was like a whip into a spear.
Yeah,
which
really.
Which is great. I've never seen Edge and Christian do that before.
I'm really hoping that this... so they've kind of come together as part of a storyline, kind of begrudgingly. Cope is helping Christian out with the Wayne family, and Christian is helping Cope out with FTR. Yeah. But I'm hoping that kind of snowballs into maybe a more permanent tag team because I love both guys. They're both amazing, but I mean, let's be honest, they're of a certain age.
You said this to me last night.
Yeah, I think tag division is where they...
So look, I want to quickly talk about this because we are tight for time.
Yep.
There is plans for them to win the belts against FTR in Toronto. Now, I want to jump down to this for 1 second because we will get back to it. FTR were supposed to go over last night. Apparently the Hurt Syndicate didn't want that, and that's why Brodito won.
Right.
That is what's been reported online. I would believe it, because seeing what happened at the tapings and how this came together, nothing else really makes sense. So you probably will see Edge and Christian win those belts in Toronto. That is the plan.
I mean, that seems like...
Yeah, that seems what's happening.
In Canada, that seems like the match.
It's too perfect to not do it, right? So look, let's move on to Kyle Fletcher with Don Callis and our favourite Lance Archer, who defeated Tanahashi for the AEW TNT Championship. Now, look, this was a great match.
Yeah.
Look, again, people online were like, what's the point? Nobody knows who Tanahashi is. It's like...
But this is so for me, this was a quintessential Forbidden Door match. This is like one of the top guys in AEW against one of like a legit New Japan legend, you know, and there's no storyline or build or you would ever see this match. This match only comes about through something like Forbidden Door.
But this match as well, it was about 15 minutes as well. But this title is the workhorse title. It's the whole point of this belt.
Yeah.
The point is to have your matches.
Yeah.
It's not about going in and having a story.
No,
like,
you
that
don't
never
need a
really
whole
mattered.
pile of drama with this.
Yeah.
No. This is, and particularly on a guy like Kyle Fletcher, who is just, I know you weren't that familiar with him beforehand.
He won me over completely.
Watch this match.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Just
brilliant.
Because he is one of those guys who's, you would have seen him in the early years of AEW coming up, through Aussie Open and the like, and be going, yeah, he's really good in ring. He's real technical. In the last year or so, he has just come completely into his own. He legitimately, that lad's the future. That lad will be taking on Will Ospreay for the world title in a year or two.
I could even, the way so we got to talk with him briefly at the media scrum because he was one of the champions that came out. And the way he carried himself, the way he presented himself was very world champion-esque.
Yeah.
And not in a superficial way. He wasn't a Sue. But at the same time, his confidence, his approach, his...
it's almost...
where he knows... He has very self-aware, which really helps kind of younger guys plot a course that makes sense. Will Ospreay was very like that as well. So I can't actually see him not only go against Will Ospreay, but maybe be after Will Ospreay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's still a very young guy.
Oh, very young. And he was... Yeah, I was kind of taken aback a little bit by his presentation.
It was really wild how put together he was.
Because he is, on the show, he is real cocky and real snide and real vicious. And then he, like you say, he came back just looking like a world champion. Like
he carries himself. And look, that's very, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, the media scrums aren't on the show, but for people like us who cover this, that's kind of what you want to see.
Yeah, I think really I think he knows that he's it's his to lose at this stage. He just needs to keep himself going where he's going, and he's got big things ahead.
Big win for him. Crowd were super happy about it. When we move on to our next title defense, the AEW TBS Championship was defended. Mercedes Moné defeated Alex Windsor, Bozilla, Persephone by pinfall. Now look, I missed some of this match, but I did call it. Now, I thought she'd have a little wheelbarrow for her titles. She didn't. She didn't. She had so my friend texted me, quote, I'm going to quote her. Mercedes Moné has her floozies with these belts.
And
that's my favourite word ever. So I was like, yes. And it was a really cool way to see it. So she had a bunch of lads there holding the titles, which was great. Again, I even said this to you. She needs someone to hold the belts. I called it.
Yeah.
I called it. Now, it wasn't on the show. I wish it was, but we were talking about it. I'm like, she's going to have some lad holding, because I thought it was going to be one lad holding all the belts, like a reverse Paul Heyman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But,
I did call it again. So, come on, do I get that prediction as well?
I think we can count that.
Yes. So, look, I'm a big fan of Persephone, right?
Yeah.
She's great. Bozilla, whoa.
Impressed a lot of people. Already.
She's 21, dude.
Already people are talking about her as last year's Stephanie Vickers.
Yes.
So Stephanie Vickers put on an unbelievable match against Mercedes Moné at Forbidden Door last year, and then the next thing, WWE was banging down Stephanie Vickers' door. It looks like the same thing's happening with Bozilla. She has put on an unbelievable performance here. She looks incredible. Unbelievable speed for her size.
Yeah.
Just like the total package, and apparently already there's everyone's clamoring around going, what's her contract? When's it up? And
I'd believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. Because again, she was added relatively soon. Even Mercedes was talking about this yesterday. Now, she's completely in character, completely no-sold you, which was hilarious. I really hope that's on the call, because we'll put that in. Martin got completely no-sold by her, and I was just dying laughing.
None of it.
Like, we were in the front row, so I was trying not to laugh the whole time. And I'm like, oh man, she just totally no-sold you. But even she said it. She's like, oh hey, look, I didn't know these women beforehand.
Yeah.
So that kind of... With that being said, the way they must call these matches in the ring, or the way they map them out beforehand, is even more impressive. So whoever was putting that match together,
it's just,
you have to give them props, because
particularly when it's a multi-man match and it involves some of these real complex like multi-person sequences that be doing. Like, it's just phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal. Like, women's wrestling has always been a big passion of mine. It's why I like TNA in the first place. But AEW now, and look, they said it yesterday. There was a question yesterday saying, when did this shift happen? Past 2 or 3 years, night and day.
Yeah, definitely.
And AEW, when it started, struggled with this, and now they've kind of hit their stride where you have a lot of really, really good women in there, either starting off or developing or growing. And Mercedes Moné, yeah, look, I'm not a fan of the 9 belts. Personally, I do think if like the more belts you have, the more the value it gets. Is it a cool image? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's also who you beating, you know? But for the gimmick, I'll let this one go. But then again, it does trigger a little bit of my TNA PTSD, where at one point Kurt Angle's holding all the belts, including the tag team belt.
But he was holding the belts from within the company, whereas Mercedes is traveling.
No, he also had the IWGP
and
title,
and the IWGP. But Mercedes is traveling around all these smaller promotions, indies, and I think it ties into her character as like this megalomaniac, this greedy. You know,
no, it does. It's just, you know, it's like what you were saying about when Trick Williams won the TNA title.
Yeah.
And you were like, how does this help TNA? It's the exposure. So, I mean, I get it, but like for these tiny little companies, it does make sense because you get to hear their names. But I just wish they need to find, like, and look, Tony Khan did talk about it yesterday in the media scrum. So he is aware of it and didn't mention it there. And she also, and Mercedes also mentioned it. But they need to do something on the TV where it's like maybe have some kind of video. And the video packages last night were great. They started working that in.
Yeah, much more for the pay-per-views. Yeah.
If they have a video package of saying where she won them or something that they can have, because then that will actually help them get over. You know, seeing the TNA title at WrestleMania was amazing because we knew what it was with Joe Hendry, you know, and it's just, you can do it. I think AEW are getting there. You just need to maybe push it a little bit more if they're going to do this. But anyway, great match, great sequences. Really impressed by all 4 of these women. Yep. Mercedes Moné has actually won me over. I'm still not in her crew, which is why she didn't take a question from me yesterday. But at the same time,
I think it's fair enough if you, for whatever reason, personality or character, and her acting is a bit
real bad.
It's very acting.
It's wooding. It's like, I am acting. Yeah. Here's the thing though. Becky Lynch can't act either.
But once she gets in the ring,
whatever it is about the 4 horsewomen, none of those women can act.
Yeah. I think Becky partly gets an excuse because when you have an Irish accent in the US, in order to be understood, you have to speak slowly and enunciate.
Yes. Well, have you seen her in Happy Gilmore too?
Yeah, I think they wisely kept her to a few very short
real
scenes.
Bad. What wasn't real bad was the next match. Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is my jam.
And now again, I heard some Americans saying, why is Nigel McGuinness here? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Nigel McGuinness is actually class, right? And yes, he's a hometown boy, but at the same time, if you watched independent wrestling at all, Ring of Honor,
former Ring of Honor world champion.
Ring of Honor champion.
He's now in AEW. Yeah. He's fighting the IWGP World. This is Forbidden Door. This is it.
But also, again, I was saying to you, have you seen his run TNA as Desmond Wolfe? And he said no. So, I mean, I don't understand people like, I don't know who Nigel McGuinness is. Like, yes, you do. If you're watching wrestling for any period of time outside of just WWE, you would know who Nigel McGuinness is. And you know how big of a deal this was. Look, yeah, okay, fair enough. He is English. It was in London. I totally get it. But it completely worked. Crowd loved it. We were losing our minds.
Oh, my.
And the match was 17 minutes of absolutely technical mastery. Now, look, Zack Sabre Jr.
Absolute beautiful stuff.
Zack Sabre Jr. he is kind of pretzel-y where he'll wrap you up. That's his gimmick. That's what he does.
Yeah, incredible. Well, what I loved most about it is some of that kind of wrestling, unless you are phenomenal at it, it looks very practiced. It looks very cooperative.
It looks very fake.
Doesn't look like a struggle.
Yeah.
Man, these two guys, they just look like two masters going out and having a fight. One of the things about this card was like we were not even halfway through at this stage, and already at this stage, and I was hoarse. Like this thing it starts off with the reintroduction of, you know, for the first time in 12 years, Edge and Christian, and it just escalates from there. Like every time you thought it had hit a peak and you were like, all right, I'm going to run to the bathroom now. Then the next match is starting. You'd be like, oh, God, I can't miss this.
That was the only downside. If you left, you missed something.
Yeah. And there was
no...
Once the main card started...
There was no breakthrough.
There was nothing you could miss on this.
A fantastic match. The only thing I'd say, the belt looks real bad.
Yeah.
It looks like a Divas title.
It does.
And it's a shame.
And it's doubly bad because the previous IWGP title was one of the nicest belts in history.
Yeah. So look, that's you know what? That's the only negative I could say on that, and that's it. Like, that's it. You know,
it actually is kind of hard to review some of these matches because unless you're going to go through them line for line, like all I can say is just watch them.
And we have 55 minutes.
So 55 minutes. Yeah.
We have to kind of go through.
What I would say is just watch them.
Absolutely. The next match, I missed some of this because actually I missed all of this because I did take my break, as did a lot of other people at that point, because I was like, I gotta go. We have Rodito against the Hurt Syndicate and FTR. Obviously, your new AEW World Tag Team Champions are Rodito, which again, Martin got to ask a question at the media scrum. That's up on our YouTube as well if you want to check it out. I didn't see the match, so I'm going to hand it over to you, Martin. But again, I will say the reason the match, why this happened, why this went down that way, is because of creative control with the Hurt Syndicate. So
yeah,
I know that puts a bit of a downer on it, but at the same time,
I don't know. I'm always very skeptical when I hear backstage reports and stuff like that. Rodito, from the minute they got together, have been fan favourites. When I was looking at this match, because I don't know if they're backstage politicking or not, but the Hurt Syndicate are mad over. They look unbelievable with those belts. FTR are FTR. They're one of the best tag teams ever. And then, like I was saying, Rodito are brilliant in the ring and massively over. So for me personally, there was no losers with this. Like, I didn't really care who won it because, like you say, no matter who won it, there was so many different ways they could go. Like,
exactly, yeah.
Had been FDR, you're starting to look at Edge and Christian if it had been Rodito.
And look, I mean, even if it was true and the politic happened, which it does seem to be, that doesn't matter because Rodito are a really cool entity. I can't believe a team that just got together just worked so well. It's crazy.
Massive pop when Rodito won. So there was an interference from a masked New Japan team who jumped on Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah, 3 lads came over the gate and started attacking them.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's leading to something else. But yeah, I am super excited for Rodito as tag team champions. I think it's...
Even if it's a short run.
Even if it's a short run, but however they came by it, it's really fresh. It's, they're like... 2 individual kind of fan favourites, but as a new team together, I think they'll really mix up the division. A phenomenal match. Again, like I said at the scrum last night, Rodito's second 5-star match in like 3 days.
Yeah, the match with FTR was fantastic.
It was just magnificent. So yeah, I love the match, love the outcome. I think there are so many ways to go with this, and I think the tag team division, I think it's hotter now than it's been since FDR first showed up.
100%. The next match, I arrived halfway through. I was raging because I was just ordering... I can't remember what I was ordering at one point, and then I heard Okada's music. I'm like, no. So it was Okada defending his AEW Unified Championship against Swerve. Strickland in a 17-minute match. Our first match of the night that ended in a storyline right off. Yeah. So obviously, a lot of guys here were hurt and they were doing the show before they were going off for surgery. Swerve is one of them.
Yeah, looks like it.
This was we saw this 2 or 3 times throughout the night where guys were like hurt and written off. And this was the first time it happened. At the end as well, we'll get to that. But the match itself, I walked in, I caught half of it. What I did was great. Got to see what I wanted to see, which is the Rainmaker.
Yeah.
This thing was a very open and showcase. Swerve was not winning.
No, and for lots of reasons.
It's not that Swerve wasn't winning. Okada wasn't losing. That's what I had to say. Sorry.
Well, there was lots of reasons.
Yes.
So obviously people kind of knew, or there was rumors about Swerve like having a long-term injury that he needed sorted. There's also the issue that we're coming into Continental Classic season. So like, why would you take that belt off Okada now? And like we talked about last week, how people still have one eye on a fourth or fifth at this stage Omega Okada match. Mm-hmm. So look, I don't think the result was ever in doubt. I was slightly worried about this match because Swerve and Okada had a match a couple of months ago that was good, but I mean, Swerve Strickland and Kazuchika Okada, good isn't good. Like, so they just didn't seem to have the chemistry. But last night, no, they really picked it up. This stood shoulder to shoulder with any other match on the card. Huge support for Swerve Strickland. So if he is going away, lad's getting a monster pop when he returns. Mm-hmm. And again, everyone seems to be, I think this unified championship was the right thing to do to unite those belts. I think it's given it more prestige. And I think it's elevated in a strange way both the belt, but also Okada. Because he's come away slightly from that more comedy thing he was doing, and he's tilting more and more back into the vicious killer that we kind of knew. Yeah,
I mean the goofy stuff he was doing with the books was just not working.
It was fun, but it wasn't. Wasn't what you want Kazuchika Okada for.
Exactly. He took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, like, comedy has its place in wrestling, obviously, and certain times it doesn't. AEW is still learning that balance. Look, it's a hard balance to learn. TNA fell into that pit many times.
Yeah.
And sometimes they lived in that pit. So whenever I have to say again, I have to hand it to Tony Khan. He seems to be willing to change.
Well, he admitted in the scrum last night.
I couldn't believe he was actually saying it. I was like, whoa, he actually is listening.
Yeah, he said in the scrum last night that he kind of became aware of maybe different habits and that he had, and he'd set out a few things he wasn't going to do in, I think it was 2020 or 2021. And
he changed twice. So he said 2020, he changed from what he was doing in 2019.
Yeah.
And then in this year, he changed as well.
And then he said, and I, like, whatever year it was, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then he says, 2 weeks in, I found myself doing it again. So you just have to be, so he is conscious of maybe some of the tics and quirks he has, and he's working on them.
But we've seen it. We've seen it even from the tapings. Some of the changes that have been made, it's like, whoa, these are things that not only us, but other people in the wrestling media are calling out. And it's, honestly, I mean, that's rather refreshing to see. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. It gives me a lot of hope about AEW, which is really nice. It's the opposite of what used to happen with TNA, where just be like, oh my God, why aren't you listening? It's just like you're screaming into a void. So it's kind of nice to not have that. The next match, Timeless Toni Storm, my absolute favourite.
Yeah.
Defeated Athena for the AEW Women's Championship. Now, Toni Storm is the best. Her entire gimmick, she came out wearing a
I was like
ancien regime French regal aristocrat thing. It was fantastic. I was like, this woman is a treasure. I love her. She's brilliant.
Every time she does something incredible,
it's just it's so good.
She's never going to top that. What is she going to, like? How could you do? And then she comes out the next week and she's got something even better.
It's great though.
She's unbelievable.
But I was disappointed when she had her amnesia thing, and you said to me, but then she came back, and you are right, because thinking about it, I was like, she was kind of doing the Hollywood thing, or the classic Hollywood thing from the 20s. Now she's going further back in time, and you're like, okay, there's actually no guardrails on this, and I'm like, this is brilliant.
Maybe next week she'll come out like a flapper girl from the 20s.
Exactly. There's no,
or maybe she'll go to the 16. Like, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. There's no guardrails on this, so I think it's really, really good. And having it in front of all those people in such a big stage, that's where Toni Storm needs to be. That's where it works so well. And look, as good as Mercedes is in the ring, and she's really not going to like what I'm going to say next, I find Toni Storm way more entertaining. She's much more what a woman's wrestler should be. She has the star power. She looks like $1 million, but then she goes out and has these really good
Incredible
matches.
Yeah.
Look, Athena was great. Obviously she's great. She's tearing up in Ring of Honor, but at the same time, these women were able to put together a match that was captivating from bell to bell.
Yeah.
Just themselves.
Not even from bell to bell, from the entrances started.
Of course, yeah.
Captivating.
Of course.
My only question is now, look, a brilliant match. Toni Storm retained. My only question is now, who beats Toni? Because if I had money on the show last night, I would have thought Athena wins. Mm-hmm. Toni's in a whole world of her own. She's going to be a superstar forever. Mm-hmm. Maybe time to put it on someone else. I thought Athena was the one. So, like, Toni Storm winning, I'm never going to not cheer. But afterwards, I'm thinking, who are the building now? Who is it?
You've seen them.
What do you think?
The three challengers, any of those three challengers against Mercedes Moné.
Yeah. Although, I mean, they're coming from CMLL.
Right now, until their contract's done. And then they come in. Look, as I said, the women's division, it was a weak point in AEW, and it's not anymore. They're still building their stars. And we saw those three women. If WWE doesn't snap them up, AEW will. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen.
But there's even so much talent within the roster.
TNA doesn't even snap them up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the thing.
But there's even so much within the roster that they could use. And, like, I still think Chris Statlander, if she got the right story, she could be built up to be a champion. You know, there's just an embarrassment of riches in that roster. Mm-hmm. You know,
well, look, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's interesting to see who they go for.
The next match was the
technically the main event.
Well, it was technically, I didn't see it because Martin, tell the good people what happened.
So I think it was this was the point where Dara's long hours of travelling and working on other projects and horsing the points in caught up with him. MJF came out. 19,000 people are roaring their heads off. MJF's fireworks are going off directly overhead. I'm jumping up and down screaming, and I turn around to see Dara looking up directly at the fireworks, not marvelling at them though. Head back, mouth open, eyes closed.
I woke up to some guy like shaking me, going, "Man, you don't want to miss this." I'm like, you know. So I did have to leave at this point, and then do a tactical puke.
I think, as the English call it, a tactical chunder, I think is the
I wasn't aware of this term. I came back and apparently I was like a new person, like a completely different person. I had rallied.
It's like when the old Superman films when he used to jump into a phone box, come out totally different.
Totally different. So I did miss a lot of this match, but then look, I don't like Handman. I don't get it, and I also really am sick of MJF's shtick. This match, the build of it, I thought it was the goofiest thing ever.
So this is where it's.
I'll let you jump in. I just neither one of these guys do anything for me, and if I never saw either one of them again, I'd be happy. I think Handman is a very weak world champion, but I know he's a big AEW guy. But for me, I'm like, and then with MJF, it's like, you know, I think they've both been tapped out from an outsider perspective. I think they've both tapped out what they can do, and I'd like to see the belts go to someone else, and maybe these guys feud with someone else. That's my thought. Go on, I'll give you 2 minutes.
So, like, I mean, I can understand you coming from that perspective because of what we saw last week, but the build for this had actually been amazing. Mm-hmm. This was possibly my most anticipated match on the card.
Really?
Until last week.
Wow.
Because the build for this was great. Like
even more than the lights out match.
Oh yeah, because
wow.
What I love is a top guys 1-on-1. Mm-hmm. No shenanigans.
But there was loads of shenanigans.
No, but this is why I'm saying that this match up until last week, I was hyped for this, and then they did the stupid they really snatched defeat from the jaws of victory here because the stupid thing with the petrol and all that.
But then they changed it,
and then they added all these stipulations.
But he was cashing in, and then he wasn't cashing in, and now they've removed that where you can't cash in anymore. I think that's a result.
I think they realised that they kind of,
and it's a result of what happened here. It completely diminished this from having any stakes.
Because what really bugged me was that now I'm the opposite of Dara. I think MJF's the best heel in the world. I think Hangman is the world champion. He's incredible.
I haven't seen him do that though.
Well, anyway, this match started and it went 31 minutes 40 seconds. Right,
He's a better world champion than Cody. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
He actually looks like a world champion and doesn't cry all the time about everything.
So this went 31 minutes 40 seconds. 30 minutes of it were amazing. 30 minutes of it were what I wanted. The champion and a serious challenger going one-on-one. And that is all this needed to be.
Yeah.
And the 1 minute and 40 seconds of shenanigans, it didn't need it. It reminded me too much of when
It's a WWE finish.
around 2023 where they got a bit rattled by the Fed and they started doing more WWE style stuff. You don't need it.
Listen,
AEW just needs to be AEW.
That's it. And look, that's the takeaway, right? And we are short for time.
Yeah,
I was going to say, right, this is a warning. And if AEW and Tony Khan are listening to this, be yourself.
100%.
Do not copy WWE. We don't need that. We have that. And that's the lesson that TNA are learning now, but it took them years and nearly going out of business for. So for me, this was the low point of the card. Very much so. But we have 10 minutes left. It didn't matter. So what we got next was unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. I've never seen a lights out match in person. Steel cage matches, turns out I really like, and I've seen a lot of them recently. We saw this cage hanging over. We're like, oh my God, what's this thing? This is so cool. So basically, for anyone who didn't see it, it's like a mix between an old style Hell in a Cell and a steel cage.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it has a little bit up on top so you can do spots off.
Yeah.
But it didn't have a roof. It didn't have like a little plinth or
it's a bit
anything
like the old WCW War Games, except without the roof.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a Hell in a Cell, but a steel cage, and then shorter.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like a
shorter.
mix of the three of them. Actually, that's a really good way to put it.
It's very like you think cage is a cage, but no, there's
this was very
something
unique.
in it, yeah.
You know what? I hope they bring this back.
Yeah,
because this is a really cool thing that they've stumbled into.
It leaves space for 10 guys, so they're not all crammed in the ring.
Martin. It's not like Blood and Guts, which is two like War Games.
Yeah.
It's something. This is like I'm going to go on record. This is like a 6-sided ring for AEW.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. I think the height of it means guys can do incredible dives. They look amazing, but it's not like that off the top of the cell where you're just going to, like you have to rig everything, you have to have crash mats and stuff. It's high enough that it looks incredible, but nobody's going to die doing it.
Yeah, you can still do spots off it and still be safe.
It is a lot like, not in terms of its presentation, but it is a lot like the what was it, the shark cage or the tiger cage? Or in that it's a new kind of unique take on the cage match that is theirs.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really cool thing that if they didn't come up with it initially, they already stumbled into it. It doesn't matter. Keep it. It's fantastic. It's a great way to have all the lads in there and having a really good match. This was chaos from the get-go. Really, really cool to see the Golden Lovers. I couldn't believe it. And this is only from James Truepenny, where I'm like, I've actually seen their stuff and I'm like, oh my God, these guys are unreal. So never seen Kenny Omega before. Kota Ibushi, absolutely dream come true to see him. The Death Riders, a little bit underwhelming, but I did enjoy the Hansen thing with Matt and with the Young Bucks. They came out as Hansen. That was pretty fun.
Again, the production crew keep finding like new and innovative ways.
But
to
obviously
mock
they're
them.
not telling them. They're just kind of doing it themselves, and I thought that was really fun. So look, everybody loved this from the get go. It was complete chaos. It was from the moment that bell rang, and even we were trying to follow. You were laughing because I was looking at the screen. Because we were behind the production staff. And you're like, it's happening in the ring. I'm like, yeah, but I need to see what's happening on the TV as well because I can't follow it.
But there actually was a tremendous, real genuine set. I know they do anarchy in the arena, but there was a genuine sense of anarchy because you were watching and you didn't know where to watch.
No, because there was spots happening one side of the ring. There was weapon shots happening the other side, and then they were climbing the cage.
Brawls over here.
It was
people
really
running
good.
into the cage. It was absolute anarchy.
But we were trying to figure out exactly how this match was going to go because it's like, there's 10 people here. It's crazy, But fantastic match. Some really, really cool spots. The Darby Allin, now look, I still think he's the goofiest guy in the world, but the coffin drop off the top of the cage was cool to see. Now, I was watching it again today, and I'm like, okay, he looks like he threw himself off, but the way he did it, it was
to bring the gay with him that he had.
Bring him with him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that actually, because when you're watching it initially, you're like, and then you watch it again, you're like, no, he was actually trying to do damage, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool spot. The crowd were absolutely enraptured by it. There was another spot with Moxley and the fork.
He loves that fork.
Which was
fork in hell.
It was exactly. It was just wild. Even Renee was saying, you know, I'm going to have to go back to the hotel and ask him why the fork. You know,
maybe he looks a bit riled up tonight. Maybe get a separate room.
Yeah. It was a bit much, but the crowd were super into it. It definitely was a moment that you'll remember. For me, it wasn't even the weapons that I was popping for, as you saw. It was when the Golden Lovers were doing their spots with the books, where I was like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. This is fantastic. But again, we'll probably, if either we won't see it again or we won't see it for some time because Kenny's injured.
Yeah.
And I don't know how often Ibushi is.
But I don't know if Kenny's injured or if he's just taking it easy. That diverticulitis is...
It flares up, yeah.
Yeah, I think so I don't think Kenny's injured. I think they're keeping him for the big...
Okay, well, that makes sense.
I don't think we're going to see, like, God, you know, in the early days, AEW, we used to get
all the time.
These unbelievable matches on Dynamite every week.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see Kenny become a kind of a special attraction.
I think you said it, like, you know, if there was a Forbidden Door, Kenny and Reigns.
Yeah.
He kind of is the Roman Reigns of AEW now, where he shows up for the big matches. But here's the thing, when he shows up, that man has, I'm going to use the phrase that the kids use, aura like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah, he's
just
unbelievable.
I never really appreciated it because I was like, he's a great worker, he's fantastic tag team and by himself. But when he walks out, you're like, whoa, Kenny Omega's unreal.
One other thing you'd mentioned, you don't know if you're ever going to see this again or when we'll see it or how we'll see it. One thing we know we won't see again is Tanahashi.
Yeah, Tanahashi's last match in not only in Forbidden Door but in the UK. Period.
Yeah. And I thought it was really cool. AEW has a really great track record of treating legends really well, and I thought it was super cool that they gave him the pin here.
Yeah,
for the end of this match.
It was brilliant, and it was deeply respectful as well, and it was great to see. It was great to end the match. Everyone went home happy until they didn't. And look, obviously they were trying to figure out, well, you know, we got the promo from Will Ospreay saying, look, I'm injured. Apparently he has 2 dislocated or fractured discs in his neck.
Yeah.
So that's a bad injury, folks. He's going to be gone for a long time, at least a year.
And the kayfabe set up for it, like the injury that they gave him in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, air quotes.
To put this in perspective, Austin had 1 disc.
Yeah, it looked vicious.
Yeah.
So from a real life perspective, he's going to be out for a while. But even from this kayfabe perspective,
he's going to be out for a while.
Looked like they were saying to the crowd, "You're not going to see Will for a long time."
Like, to put this in perspective, Austin had 1.
Yeah.
So 2, like, you know, it sucks. I'm not a fan of him as a promo, but you know, as an in-ring guy, it really is a huge blow to.
What a maniac out there!
Crazy.
Knowing that he's in that state.
Yeah, to do what he did, it was wild. But look, we're almost out of time. Fantastic show. Thank you, AEW, for hooking us up. We had a fantastic time. If you haven't seen it, guys, go back and do watch it. It's one of the best shows of the year. And AEW, fair play, knocked it out of the park. Forbidden Door.
10-10. Yeah, look, the AEW's on an unbelievable run of pay-per-views at the minute, and I think this has... I mean, look, I say it every time there's an AEW pay-per-view. I think that might have been the best of the year. I think that might have been the best of the year. Look, I'll say it again. I think that might have been the best of the year.
Oh, there we go. Well, look, folks, is this your first time checking us out? Please do go like, share, subscribe to the show. We'll be back next week. There's tons of content on Nerd to Know Media right now. If you're not following us there, I don't know why you aren't. And of course, you can follow us, our Patreon, and everything else as well. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before we get out here?
Keep our lit.
That's it. Guys, we'll be back for more content. Again, we have our media scrum from yesterday up there, and we have our Dynamite Collision and everything else up on
String
YouTube
interviews Dara did.
and string of interviews as well. We have Grado, and we have the TNA X Division champion Leon Slater as well. So
And we met loads of different independent wrestlers and Irish wrestlers and that last night, all who promised us interviews and all
Yes.
who will be held accountable.
there's tons of content coming, we absolutely assure you. So again, thank you to AEW. We really do appreciate it, and hopefully it'll be our first of many shows and interactions with AEW. So for everybody here at Nerd to Know Media and the Wrestling Rewind, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.